Hey everyone, and welcome back to New Horizons, where we are on a bit of a timer here. Yeah, so we're more or less right on the edge of our power generation. It seems the new multi-blocks we added last episode have already taken their toll on our base. This half-built Naquata line is already enough to tip us over the edge where we are no longer producing enough power. And really it's only a matter of time before this thing runs out. And without power, we're basically kicked back to the Stone Age. And Before we tackle that though, I have been doing some little chores around the base, just enjoying my time here. With the AE controller moved, I did some rewiring underneath actually. I was also doing a little bit more crop breeding for black stone lily, which now has its own patch on this side of the farm. We processed the stone lily through this electrolyzer to give us fluorine, and fluorine is something that we use in Naquata as part of hydrofluoric acid. Although it was pointed out that we already have an LCR for hydrofluoric acid, so I don't know. I guess that one we reuse for something else. I also went back to IO and moved our miners around since they had now finished. We want to try and keep as much uptime on the miners as possible to keep generating resources. Oh yeah, and we now have this thing, the tree growth simulator, which will generate logs out of thin air. It's great. Who knows where they come from, but yeah, we just give this thing some power, we give it a saw, and it will just spit out logs for us. Controlled by a level emitter, of course. I noticed after adding this paralysed oven last episode that our production of logs wasn't able to keep up. So yeah, that thing is just a little supplementary system, and this thing is also now level limited on quicklime dust. But yeah, back to the task at hand. Power. We need power. Okay, hold on a second. I've started the craft here for another set of LHEs, or in other words, this setup here, with these 3 multi-blocks. To craft all this stuff, we need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rods. I think the raw material like the titanium and the blue steel, all of that stuff, I think we have all of that, the tungsten steel. It's just a matter of getting all of this crafted, and as you can see here, the blue steel rods, we basically need 116 turbine casings per. The way that we currently make rods is in this guy here, the Advanced Extruder HV, which is on its knees here trying to process this request. So actually let's pause the power and let's add another GT++ machine. We can make the Industrial Extrusion machine. We have more GT++ alloys, which are always a ton of fun. But I'm hoping that it fits into this space right here, assuming it's 3x3. Okay, slight change of plans here. It turns out that this is actually 3x3x5, or the same as the cutting machine and the wire mill here. So I think it'll fit quite nicely next to these guys. I was having another little peek under here, and well, we're out of channels as well, so we're gonna have to add another P2P, which is actually quite convenient that there's a space here. And yeah, as I mentioned, I did some rewiring of this main cable. This used to spaghetti all over the place underneath here, but I did straighten out a bit. And the other end is gonna go right here. And I think that means that we can split off this as well, to avoid having to go underneath. Yeah, and even this line here for the cutting factory, we can keep it all on the one side. Now, hopefully I built enough casings for this, although eyeballing this I don't think I did. No. I'm also missing the muffler hatch, and cables for energy. Alright, I'm hoping this works here with the machine controller. Oh, very loud, very loud. But that is chewing through this blue steel, that is awesome. You know what, let's check it out here in the terminal. How long for 100 iron rods? Let's see. Because we have all the ingots already available. Okay, oh my goodness, look at that. That was like 2 seconds flat for 100 rods. It's still making a sound though. The power of parallel crafting. But yeah, the setup for this thing is actually quite simple. Since this is an extrusion machine, we can also add different extruder shapes in here. But not all of them, because we are limited by minimum casings, which doesn't allow us to put an input bus for every extruder shape. So we got at least the most important ones. We got the fluid pipes. We got rods, of course, here. We got gears, small gears, and I think also bolts here. So not only does this improve the speed of rods, but all of these other ones as well. I think gears is one of the slowest machines that we used to have as well. We are running this thing at IV, so wait, this is the muffler hatch right here. We should be good to cover this as long as we keep this space free. I think it's going to be fine. That's famous last words though. No, we should be okay with this. So what remains at the old extruders here is actually just, I think, the tiny pipe. I left tiny pipe here because that's one of the fastest processes in this HV machine. And also the cells patterns. I didn't make one for cells either, since we don't make cells that much. But yeah, with that out of the way, power. We need power. Aha, not one more setup, but 3 more LHE setups here, taking us up to 16 different turbines. And after doing some napkin calculations, we're going to be producing 91,776 EU per tick, which equates to around 11 amps of IV power. Not too bad actually, and we did account for this since we have a 16 amp IV energy hatch on this. So we should be able to send all the power into this AX platinum cable, since this can hold 16 amps of IV power. And the max this cable will see is only 11 of course. Possibly 12, I'm not sure if it'll round it up like that. Oh, and look at that, perfect amount of cable. So yeah, I just copied this and mirrored the setup, basically 1-to-1, with one exception here actually. Instead of nether star fluid pipe, we are using Hastalloy X, which can handle 240,000 litres per second. We need to be able to handle 160,000, so it actually works out. I'd rather make the GT++ alloy than going for the wither like, I don't know, 100 times. But yeah, all that's left for this, I think, is to let the distilled water back up. Yeah, I want to get a bit more of a buffer on these things, since, you know, if we run out of distilled water, then we have an explosion on our hands, like last time. And we're still actually just relying on these 5 basic distilleries, but remember, the steam is recycled, or this distilled water is recycled out of the steam turbines. We will also need machine controllers on all of these, active with a signal, safe mode, and we'll swap the redstone line to come up the middle. This redstone line turns on when our PSS is low enough, or when it meets the threshold to turn on all of our machines. It's not technically needed since we also have our system here in the LEG, which reads the distilled water amounts and will not let it turn on without enough distilled water. But we still do need a big enough buffer to start it up the first time to get the buffers full. Alright, that's one side done, same here on the other side. Last piece of this puzzle is actually the turbines themselves. So the top set takes the large turbines and the bottom side takes the regular turbines. We are still going to be using Aura Hurricane again, and we're going to place a very temporary pattern in our new extrusion machine for the rotor blades, or the turbine blades. Can we get an extra 6 large turbines? 336 ingots of Aura Hurricane, and 6 regulars is 288 ingots of Aura Hurricane. That probably wiped out our whole supply. Well, we have 300 left, but the durability on the original rotors that we placed in the first setup are actually still in the green. So it's going to be a while before we need our Hurricane in large quantities. So I'm hoping these turbines will tide us over until we get fusion, and the fusion power from the turbines. Which, I mean, technically we're not too far away from it. It's like in the middle of the LuV chapter. Yeah, right here is where we can get fusion, and this is our fusion turbines here. So we've still got a little bit of progression before we can get there, but we're not actually too far off. So you may call it a bit overkill, the fact that we went this hard, especially with the combustion engines here as well. But to be perfectly honest, I done it for symmetry. We can't have a space here with no LHE setup. Sure, it did put a dent in our titanium supply and tungsten steel and our Hurricane. Along with the fluid regulators, actually, these things are super expensive still. Oops. Anyways, that is enough about the turbines for now. We're going to turn those on later when we have more distilled water. As our base expands here, it's getting quite sizable now, I would say. As our base expands, a lot of you guys have been commenting why we don't have the wireless terminal from AE yet. And you know, that is a very good question. Why don't we have the wireless terminal yet? I haven't actually checked out the recipe for it yet, so I'm half expecting it to be quite miserable. Well, you know what? It's actually not too... Wait, this is dense energy cell, LuV circuits, and a 16x battery buffer. Oh man, we should have got this a while ago. Okay, yeah, we're going to put in recipes for all of this stuff. Fluix Pearl, I don't think we have a recipe for this. Oh yeah, also check this out. We got the new interface terminal in the new version of AE, which adds features from Trousers Edition. This is... I miss these things from OmniFactory. Oh, this is so nice. You can hit these buttons up the top here to show your empty molecular assemblers, and it makes it super easy to drop in recipes. Do we have any LuV circuits? No, we don't. We can craft them though. Let's see, I bet we're just missing the battery buffer, yeah. And probably the quest here in our quest book. You know, I haven't paid attention to this much. Maybe we should stop and unlock some of these prerequisites first. Pure quartz. 16 annihilation and formation cores should give us our next quest. Right after we wait 100 seconds on this autoclave for the pure crystals. And what's worse is it's actually only a chance output as well, 80% with regular water. So I think we do something about it. We do have 82 stuff in the pack, so we can get the crystal growth chamber. The problem is that it takes 6 of these accelerators, which is 1 advanced autoclave at EV each. Which is kind of ridiculous, to be honest. It doesn't need to be this expensive, but I mean, this is New Horizons, isn't it? Let's put in all the recipes again, let's see what we're missing. Oh, you know what? We can actually craft this thing. 100 titanium, but I mean, we just used thousands of titanium, so an extra 100 ain't gonna do much. 1 quest for the energy cell. We'll also need the security terminal to link our wireless terminal. along with a couple of access points and wireless booster cards. It looks like 16 boosters is 400 EU a tick, 32 is 1820, which is actually a substantial amount of EU. Alright, we got our wireless terminal here, giving us the quest. Oh, and it does also get wireless charge for us. Security terminal, I believe, has to go on mainnet, so we have to place it above this subnet controller here, I think, which means it can go here. Nope. Oh, that just killed the whole system. We need an anchor here. Yep, anchor here, then security terminal. And we can link the wireless terminal. I guess we place an access point right here. Let's see how big of a radius we can cover and a reasonable EU cost. Wait a second, out of range? Do we have to be on the subnet? Oh, wait a second, it's because this line counts as the subnet as well. Yeah, so we have to move this to the controller outputs. Like here, this is off center, which is bothering me, but we can't connect it to this line here. Now we should have access. Yeah, there we go. How far does this take us? I think it was like 47 blocks. Yeah, we're out of range right here, which is kind of no good. We want it to at least cover the radius of our base. Looks like around here is the cutoff. What if we also stick a little access point underneath our blast furnaces here? Let's also put an access point next to these distillation towers to cover this area. Right here is probably good. And I think we'll do one more over here somewhere. I'm totally going to forget I have this all the time. At least for the next few days, but it's long overdue. Oh yeah, and let's also pick up the crystal growth accelerators. And the crystal growth chamber. And this thing I think is going to live here instead of our cutting machine. Although I don't think this guy auto outputs, so we may have to move him to the end of the line so that we can put some item conduit on the back. Yeah, let's do that. Let's swap this autoclave here. So now I think we just have to add in the patterns, which will have to change since I had more than one output because it was a chance at the output and not 100%. So now without any acceleration cards, it looks like it's like 1% per tick. Good deal. Good deal. Especially if it means getting away from this thing. Oh yeah, and on the insert here, we have to filter the pure crystals only. Otherwise it would pull out the seed, I think. So just to help the distilled water along here, I want to get these turbines running right now actually. I've hooked up this temporary ender tank, which connects over to this distillation tower here. I just have a temporary water reservoir underneath to supply water. That is distilling into distilled water and then getting sent through the ender tank. I picked this one just because we were running this thing at EV. Yeah, pink is EV. And this thing was empty right now anyway, since we were backed up on our inputs. But the reason I want to get the turbines running is so that we can overclock our plat line here. We are still running this thing at HV, I think. The most important step here is running at HV. I'm stuck. That happens all the time in this pack. Yeah, this recipe here is 70 seconds, and this basically gates the rest of the line. We need the outputs of this to run through all of the other machines to then get all of these things running. And remember, this thing also produces iridium, osmium, ruthenium, and there's one more as well. Palladium? Palladium. And osmium is something I'm concerned about, actually. We only have 500, which is not a lot compared to how much platinum we've actually processed here. Okay, you guys notice anything different here? We actually have green machines all around. For the longest time, all of these were red, and we were always waiting on this thing. But close your eyes for a second, pretend you don't see this. This is the most important part, which I overclocked. And I got the main platinum bottleneck blast furnace running at IV here, which takes it from 70 seconds down to 4 seconds, which is amazing. Oh, and also the LHE's turned on, no problem, no explosions this time. Look how fast we get power. It's like 1 million every 2 seconds, even with the power draw of our base currently. Yeah, maybe even over 1 million. Alright, anyways, moving on for today. I think since we can't quite get Naquada yet, since the recipe is still broken for progression, we are going to be working a little bit on our circuits. And ultimately the goal is to make some circuit assembly lines, which is very similar to this thing, although we do need one per circuit type, as you can only make one type of circuit in each machine at once. And we're going to have to pick up the LuV Circuit Assembler. Because in order to craft the circuit assembly line, we have to first of all scan it in the scanner to get the data. And we also use this thing in the recipe for the circuit assembly line. So we're going to need a handful of these things, and these are LuV components. I hope our blast furnaces have been running long enough. You can probably see how expensive everything is getting by now. Okay, let's start by adding some recipes for everything. This does take ZPM circuits, but we want to quickly get away from the mainframe recipe. Let's just take a shot in the dark. Can we actually just straight up request one of these things? I highly doubt it. Look at this, we're only missing niobium titanium and volumetric flasks. Anything else notable in this? I mean, it's like 50 EV circuits. Over 50 EV circuits, which is crazy. Oh my goodness, okay. Niobium titanium wire, we can do this. And a volumetrics recipe we can do manually the first time here. Add the filled flask to the recipe. And this can go in with the other ones. In this one here for solder and alloy. Now we can request this circuit assembler, right? Oh yeah. Well, I guess we monitor the progress, and in the meantime we look ahead at the next quest, which is some fetch quests here. I was curious why there was a pizza glove. But we need some indium gallium phosphide, we have that, we're quickly running out, but we can get it. Magnetic steel dust, we should be able to just add a recipe for, which will go inside our polarizer. And the last dust is dibismuth hydroborate. To get this, we need to combine boron and bismuth, along with some hydrogen in a chemical reactor. From what I can tell, this isn't something that we need like lots and lots of, so we have this chemical reactor here. I wonder if we can just add another input hatch to this. Filter the inserts for hydrogen, which should come from the fluid P2P that's here. And then we can just encode a recipe for boron and bismuth, which goes in the interface down here. This used to be where we make circuit boards, but we now have these things on passive actually. I don't think it's a bad idea though to leave this here, just as a supplementary system. Yeah, so these dusts here should unlock the quest. After this we need tellurium. I have no idea how to get tellurium. Oh, hold on a second, it appears our electric LuV piston recipe is wrong. We are actually missing the electric motor LuV, which has to be in this slot here. And everything else has to be pushed to the right one. Like so, I think. To restart the craft, I think it's an extra 16 rooted. Yeah, not a whole lot of extra cost, just for the motor. Okay, so back to tellurium. It seems that the route I think we're going to take is from rare earth. And you may remember us setting up RE1 in this processing array here. But we did set a level emitter on this to keep some original rare earth dust, which we get from redstone and cinnabar. So I think we'll want another processing array for this. Oh, we have one crafted already, nice. Or actually, hold on, maybe we need two, right? Since there's rare earth 1, 2, and 3. Can we get another processing array? We may as well set up all three while we're at it, right? And wait a second, did I see that this was stuck again? A lot of this is actually the first time we're fully auto-crafting these LuV components without supervision. I think I might be missing one or two things in the pattern for this as well. Oh yeah, that is what the problem is. Okay, we're going again for the third time. Okay, so the processing array, we need an output bus and an input bus for each one. I'm pretty confident you can wall share these things, right? At least I hope so. And we also need an input hatch for fluids, which we have to come back to actually. The fluids are not so simple in this. Almost forgot about the maintenance hatches again. As for the energy hatches, we have a couple of extra HV ones, which we took from the plat line. And this process doesn't have to be particularly fast, unless maybe there's an energy requirement on this. Oh, there is an energy requirement on this. Yeah, the rare 3, which is the one we want to go for, requires IV. And RE2 and 1 is only HV, so maybe we swap the RE1 to the top, and we put the IV connection on the bottom here. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some pretty nasty wiring here. Just close your eyes for a second. Just please don't connect it to this line here. Well, I really dislike doing stuff like this, but it's necessary right now, unless we overclock this whole line, which I'm not really up for doing, since I don't think we can get that many energy hatches, honestly, right now. The one we just crafted, though, is going to go here. And in order to split this, we basically want most of it to go into rare earth 1, since this gives us things like yttrium. So to accomplish this, we are filtering in our rare earth in this interface here, and that is extracted on purple, which then gets round robin between the first input bus here, for RE1 processing, and also this mini chest. And then from the mini chest it gets extracted on pink, on round robin, into the last two processing arrays. So hopefully when we connect this, we're going to see half the amount in both, split between both of the bottom processing arrays as we see in the top one. So yeah, there's like half a stack here, there should be around 16 here. Yeah, perfect. Although unlike rare earth 1, which we can process with sulfuric acid, 2 and 3 have to be industrial strength hydrogen chloride and industrial strength hydrofluoric acid, because of course it does, right? We're kind of already struggling for hydrofluoric acid, even with the extra plants that I added between episodes. I noticed this fluorine thing is almost never full anymore. So if you guys know of any better suggestions for fluorine other than just maxing out the crops up there and just going crazy with it, then definitely let me know on that. To make this industrial strength fluid though, we have a few more machines to build, unsurprisingly. We need a distillation tower and we need a chemical reactor. You know, after double checking the recipe, we probably could have got away with a single block, but I'm not going to switch it out now. We get the perfect overclock for this thing. The only problem is, well, we don't have apatite dust. I definitely didn't expect to run into this situation today. Apatite dust, we had like tens of thousands. This used to be our most plentiful resource. My first reaction was, wait, was this one of the things that was voided when we had all the issues cropping up with our base? But nope, it turns out it's just me. I've been filtering all of this apatite into this electrolyzer, since if we electrolyze it we can get calcium, phosphate and chlorine, which is actually not such a bad deal if you have no other use for apatite. And other than fertilizer that I saw, I didn't realise we'd have to use this recipe. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else you can do with apatite, so I just thought, well, we just electrolyze it all, right? The only thing we have right now is 55 of the gems, which we're going to pulverize, just to get this system kick-started, although we do have to do something about this. Oh yeah, it's already going all the way to the interface over there. Yeah, this complicates things quite a bit, actually. So we have to, I think this is one of the bio circuits, right? No, breakthrough circuit 21. Oh yeah, and the robot arm recipe is broken for the circuit assembler again. Wait, why is there no tooltip here? Do we just have to guess what we're up? Guess the circuit? Is this 21? Oh yeah, we got it second time. Yeah, so apatite and sulfuric acid is going to give us sulfuric apatite mix. Let's put on our usual fluid detector combination. We also get small piles of sulfur, which we can just send back to our ME system. Let's make sure we also set the filler on the insert of the distillation tower. Even though this is the only thing on the line, I like to be safe and just filter everything regardless. And yeah, 11 seconds to distill. We also have a fluid detector on this. And this will give us both the fluids that we need for RE2 and 3, along with sulfurous acid, which we can distill again for sulfur dioxide, but I mean, sulfur is basically free for us, right? We're swimming in sulfur. We have almost 200k. So it's something to keep in mind. Maybe we'll set up another distillation tower for it, but I think now we're just going to let this one void. And we'll send the other two back into fluid P2P, which we can then just filter back in the processing arrays on the input hatches. So yeah, we will have to go out and find some apatite, but since our miners are busy, we're going to put this guy to use again. Our HV miner, which we built, I don't know, like episode 12? No, it wasn't that early. A while ago since we used this thing. And thankfully we do have a spare ender tank and chest, which we can use for lubricant and item transfer. We'll need some mining pipe and also have to find an apatite vein. I don't know if there is any in the overworld. I didn't pay attention much to apatite. Do we actually have any apatite veins around here? Oh, wait a second. We don't need lubricant for this guy. Can you tell it's been a while since I've set one of these things up? Yeah, we just need fuel for them and mining pipe. Yeah, so now the last thing is to get some chemical baths for our PA. And I realized that one of them has to be at least IV, so PA was probably not worth for... dedicating a whole PA to this thing at this stage is probably not worth it. But again, it's set up now, I'm not going to tear it down. The other one though, we can put HVs in. Okay, we'll start off with one machine at each tier, just to get this process started. Once we have the crushed dust, I think here we want to macerate, right? So we can get the chance at neodymium. And we're also going to get the rare earth 2 dust, which we can then dehydrate for all of these things. A lot of these things then have to be processed in an electrolyzer. So that's going to be a lot of extra filtering for this guy, and may call for a second one of these things, I'm not sure. But we'll at least get it sent through the multi-block macerator over there. And then the rare earth 3, the whole reason we set this up, we can either get cerium or we can get erbium. And we have another way of getting cerium. I don't recall actually using this thing, but we have some of it, I think from tier 4 planets. So in that case, I think we'll just macerate again and get the chance at erbium. Who knows if erbium is even used in anything. There's actually quite a few recipes and dusts that exist in the game that are completely useless, like have no use whatsoever. But yeah, that should get that going. What was the dust we were after again? Tellurium? I think it was this, right? Yeah, we need albernite. And we should get albernite from dehydrating the rare earth 3. I bet we need a higher tier for this. Yep. We need at least IV for this. Because of course we do. Wait a second, what is this? Dehydrator coil? Okay, it's just some platinum wire and steel actually. Not too bad. Not as bad as it first looks. That should allow us to pick up the IV chemical dehydrator. Which, until we figure out if we're going to just passive all the dust processing, we're going to put right here. But for now, we'll just do this step manually. Man, that is a lot of dusts. Oh, we can actually get tantalum and things this way as well. Interesting. There's a lot of decent stuff in here, including fluorine as well. While I was crafting the dehydrator, I think our circuit assembler also finished. I did go and fix the recipe on the robot arm. There's the quest for it, finally. But yeah, with that, I think we're going to wrap things up here, actually. We got our LHE and power expanded. Hopefully should last us through the rest of LuV. We got our plat line overclocked, which I'm monitoring right now. I need to see if we need to make any more changes to this. It's possible this thing is going to need some tweaking still. And you know what, let's finish out the episode with a loot bag. We've got an LuV enchanted. Tier 3 alloy and niobium titanium cable. Not very exciting, but I'll definitely take that. That's actually not too bad. This is going to go straight to the arc furnace though. Alright, anyways, that is going to do this for today. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all soon for some more Gregtech New Horizons.